that. And the recording will include the speaker's slides, and I think she has a video as well. It will be available at our website, lwvdenver.org, in about 2 days. So if you want to listen to it again, or if you have friends that you've raved about who want to listen to it, it can be seen and heard at our website. This is our final briefing of the year. However, we will hold our League of Women Voters of Denver annual meeting on Saturday, May 18th at Montview Presbyterian Church. And our keynote speaker will be Sarah Hazel, the CEO and president of Denver Public Schools Foundation. She will focus on the DPS Foundation's New Arrival Students and Families program, which was established to support the influx of migrant families arriving in Denver in the late summer and early fall of 2023. Now to tonight's briefing. Almost exactly a year ago, Mark Donovan, the founder of Denver's Basic Income Project, or DBIP, to which I will refer, provided a briefing to us about what was then a newly instituted and innovative approach to address homelessness and the cycle of poverty in our city. The Denver City Council approved using $2 million from the American Rescue Plan Act to provide monthly cash assistance to an initial 140 people experiencing homelessness. Universal basic income programs have been set up in other cities and are based on the belief that the participants can make the best decisions themselves on how to use money to provide improved stability for their families. DBIP partnered with the University of Denver to design a randomized trial and collect data on the outcomes of their project. The attendees at the briefing were so enthusiastic about the project that we asked if Mr. Donovan or a representative of the Denver Basic Income Project could return after data had been accumulated to give us an update on its impact. And so here we are tonight to hear from Maria Sierra over 1 year after the program's beginnings. Before I introduce Maria, I want to share with you the League's public policy positions as these relate to the goals of the Denver Basic Income Project. Nationally and locally, the League has, since 1964, advocated to enact societal policy to provide for basic human needs and to promote self-sufficiency for individuals and families, utilizing the most effective social programs designed to prevent or reduce poverty. League believes that people have the right to an income and or services sufficient to meet their basic needs of food, shelter, and access to health care. In 1971, after intense study, the National League voted to support a federalized system of income assistance. League adopted its basic income needs position in 1988 and has repeatedly opposed funding cutbacks and dilution of the government's role in income maintenance programs. In addition, various League studies have looked at the feminization of poverty. As you can see, the League of Women Voters is allied with programs such as the Denver Basic Income Project, and we are delighted to welcome Maria Sierra to speak with us tonight. As I mentioned before, Maria is the Community Engagement Manager at DBIP. She has been working professionally with those experiencing homelessness and in nonprofit service organizations for over 25 years. She was born and raised as a proud Denver North Sider. Maria states, helping individuals overcome obstacles and difficulties and making the most of themselves is a gratifying yet challenging career. Maria has a thorough knowledge of the housing and social service systems, as well as a unique perspective and understanding of the struggle individuals and families often face with meeting their basic needs. She is driven by the goal to empower the people she works with to experience life truly, not just navigate through numerous struggles. Maria holds a BA in Chicano Studies and Human Services from Metropolitan State University. We will be muting attendees while Ms. Sierra presents her information. Please put your comments and questions into the chat. These will be posed to the speaker and moderated by Pearl Ann Zalarny, our Communications Co-Director, after the presentation. And if there is time, we will also take questions verbally as well. You will be muted as soon as the speaker begins.
So I am going to mute everyone now, and Maria, you will probably need to unmute, if you don't mind.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for that great introduction. I feel very honored to be in this space. And I have to just let you all know, I let Pearlyn and Suzanne know. I have my 3-year-old granddaughter here because my grandson's at piano lessons. So if you hear a little squeak or a little YouTube video, it's her. So I apologize ahead of time. I'm going to share my screen. So let me do that here. And because of my little snafu earlier, I am not gonna make this any bigger. So you all can see this right now. Okay, great. I'm not gonna make it any bigger because I don't want it to screw up again. So I apologize. I'm gonna start us out with a quick little video. Make sure my volume's turned all the way up. And then we'll get started here. Let me get to the next slide.
I've been homeless before in shelters, had to stay in shelters, even with my children, which is not an easy thing to do. When we were at the roadway shelter, one of the great things they had was gardening. That's my prayer closet, kind of a lot of times, my serenity place.
The Denver Basic Income Project is a demonstration project to show the power of providing unconditional cash to people who are experiencing homelessness. And we are hearing just incredible stories of transformation.
I was living out in my car in, believe this or not, in the same King Supers my son manages now, parking lot. So in that, I was in and out of the hospital for medical reasons. I was pretty much drinking myself away. But in the midst of that, now time is lapsing. You know, there's a gap in employment. Now you have to explain that.
Lived with my parents throughout high school, and then I ended up becoming homeless because I wanted to be in a relationship, and then that's when I started using drugs. I was homeless for probably about 4 years, and then I went into treatment. I moved to Joshua Station when Lucas turned 1.
Jennifer came to Joshua Station just about 2 years ago. She's a single mom, and she has had some really strong desires to further her education. It took this almost 2 years for her to get to that starting line because there were other areas in her life that she needed to get settled first. And receiving Denver Basic Income Project helped create that stability so that then she could launch to the other areas of her life.
The Colorado Coalition for the Homeless is a housing, healthcare, and supportive services provider. We know that when you give people resources, they do a much better job in managing their life. And so many people that we work with and work along beside of to resolve their homelessness just need a little access to resources. Sometimes that's in the form of housing. Sometimes that's in the form of healthcare coverage. Sometimes that's in the form of just basic assistance like cash. And people are really using these resources in the same way that housed individuals would use these resources.
I can utilize that money for down payment, for deposit, for some month, you know.
To get clothes for Lucas, toys for him, stuff for myself, do some self-care. When I move out of Joshua Station, I do have some money to where I can buy furniture, pay my down payment.
And just even with having my youngest granddaughter with me right now and being able to, have some things there for her and, being able to help with her, being able to say, okay, I have a stable place now. I'm not homeless. You can come and stay with me. The baby can come and stay.
And we're going to provide this cash to you unconditionally. And we are showing that it is incredibly powerful and it creates an accelerated path to safety, to stability, to housing, and to thriving.
We ultimately know what we need to do. We have what it takes within us to change our lives. We really do.
There's a class that I'm looking into. I hope we'll get to start soon. Learning how to write grants and proposals, which is what I actually had a mini MBA in 20 years ago. This class will allow me to, refresh that.
Maybe like social work or human services. I like helping people. I like talking with people. So something in that field.
Right now, I was able to start looking for work. I just can't jump on any job that would come my way or open their doors to me. I used to do that all the time just to make ends meet. Now I'm thinking future. Now I'm thinking my age, my health.
The hope is that we can just keep the momentum going, bring as many people on board as possible, and get to that place of greater justice, of greater opportunity. Most people don't experience that. And cash is freedom. And poverty is a form of incarceration. And it's wrong. And we can do better.
So, I wanted to just point out before I get started, our official 1-year report is not officially out. That will be coming out in June. I will be sharing some information from our interim report and our qualitative report, but our official report will come out in June. And so just so you know, but I'll be sharing some of that information at the end today. I did look at the previous presentation, and I know that what you guys learned about us before was, you learned a little bit about our theory of change and what we were amping up to do. And so I just wanted to kind of extend some of that. So you may know some of this information. As the video talked about, and as you may already know, this is a pilot project that has been studying the impact of providing that direct cash assistance to the unhoused that have been in Denver. We are the largest and first program in the United States to do that. We've reached over 800 individuals in the city and county of Denver, and just over $6.8 million has already been distributed to those individuals. Our approach all along and our decision-making has always been centered by the input from those with lived experience and people on the front line. So we have had focus groups. We've had people who sat on our advisory board when we were with a fiscal sponsorship, and our board of directors who have had lived experience. So we really value that very, very much. Our program design is pretty simple, but first and foremost, we really wanted to engage this project and the people that we were serving with dignity and speed, and cut out all the red tape as much as we could, and with the research methods implemented to analyze that impact and how we did that. So with the money that we are giving to our participants, we gave them a cell phone, a free cell phone, a smartphone with service and data so that they can stay connected with us. They can receive information about their payments and have an opportunity to engage their research if they chose to do so. Payments, they were able to receive their payments in their already established bank account if they already had one. And if they were not banked, we gave them a debit card that they were able to get their money on every month. Participants were randomly placed in 3 different payment groups. Group A received 12 cash payments of $1,000 a month, totaling $12,000 for the year. Group B was a group that we tested, a lump sum group where they got $6,500 upfront and then $500 a month for the remaining 11 months. And they received 12,000 total for the year. So those two groups received the same. And then our comparison group, Group C, received $50 a month for 12 months. And to be eligible, you had to be 18 years of age or older. You had to be connected to one of our partners. We had 19 community organizations that partnered with us. And those community organizations provided services to the unhoused community from one aspect, from one end of the spectrum to the other. Some were specific to the unhoused community and some were not. And so they just had to be connected to one of those. They also had to not have any severe or unaddressed mental health or substance misuse needs, and they had to be experiencing homelessness. And we used the definition of homelessness. We used a very broad definition. If you're familiar with the McKinney-Vento definition, it is the definition most commonly used in the education system. And it really encompasses a whole lot more people. We wanted to reach more people. So it includes people who are doubled up, who are couch surfing, who you know, they could be in public spaces, they could be in transitional housing, those types of things. And so we didn't want to use the HUD literal definition. And so what this means is it was not just by household. So there were people who the husband and wife, or even a mother and daughter, or a parent and child who were experiencing homelessness together applied, and they both were randomly selected. And so why are we using this basic income to address homelessness? I think we talked about that a little bit in the last presentation, but in case you don't know, the state of homelessness in Denver is amongst the top 10 cities in the country with the highest unhoused population. One of the most recent research done by House Keys Action Network surveyed Denver's unhoused people in 2022 and asked, what barriers have you experienced in getting housing? And out of 793 respondents, not having money was the most of the responses. 53% said not having money. 38% bad credit score. Number 3 was not having a phone. Number 4 was not having official documents. So DBIP addresses 2 of those right off the bat. And we began building out DBIP in early 2021. So as I stated before, we were getting feedback from people experiencing homelessness already. So before this type of survey even came out. And it's really important for this feedback. We are engaging our participants on a regular basis. Mark just recently started calling our participants on their birthday. Every day he makes calls to people whose birthday it is. And so we're constantly getting feedback. So we like to share some of that feedback. And this is a quote from one of our participants that we take pride in sharing with you all. When you build a house, you have to start with the foundation. You can't start with walls and then bring in a foundation. So that's what DBIP program has done for me. It's giving me a strong, sturdy foundation to be successful and to be productive. I will share, participants tell us, I'll say weekly, that we've saved their lives, that if it wasn't for DBIP, they wouldn't be here anymore. That this opportunity came at a time that they were about to give up. And it really put them on a trajectory to live life beyond what they would have imagined at that moment. One thing that we really worked hard to do is to build this project through a racial equity lens. Our policies and our decision-making is centered around the inclusion of diverse experiences and on historically excluded and marginalized individuals and groups. I'll give you an example. One of the groups that we see the highest in experiencing homelessness is our Native American community, and aren't always accessing services. So we were very intentional in partnering with agencies that are serving those communities. And this is just one example, so that we can reach those communities that aren't always reached. And so as it states here, our policy on inclusivity, all the qualified applicants obviously were able to apply without regard to their race, color, religion, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, national origin, genetics, disability, age, or veteran status. And this is something I'm really proud of, and that is our value statement. We really worked hard on this as a small group, putting this together in early 2021. So I'm going to read this. It's really important to me individually, as well as our team. The Denver Basic Income Project recognizes and is opposed to systemic barriers to rising out of poverty and supports providing cash assistance to those most impacted and in need. In eliminating financial barriers, we create a path to equity and social justice for the unhoused. Our organization is committed to justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, accessibility, and belonging in all aspects of our organization and mission. So here is a little bit of our participant demographics. So of 808 people who enrolled into our official hard launch. Oops. Oh, see, I knew my computer was
It's 6 o'clock.
Start acting up. Oh my gosh, what happened? I am so sorry, everyone. They went away. Why is this doing this to me? I'm gonna stop sharing. Oh. Why did it go away?
It said 6 o'clock. Was there some kind of timer on it? Maybe. I don't know.
No, that's my computer telling me what time it is. I don't know why my
Okay.
computer does that. It's so weird. Let me just go back. Here we go.
Take a deep breath. We're hanging in with you. Do what you
Thank
need to do.
you. Here we go. It came right back up. Let me.
Okay.
Jeez Louise. I'm telling you, my computer is like saying it doesn't want to work today. It's like, it's a Monday for my computer, I guess. And I have to be respectful to that. Okay, we're back. All right. So of our 808 participants in our hard launch that launched in 2022, this is the breakdown as we talked about. So it definitely is aligned with those who are experiencing homelessness. So
Could you just read that aloud? It's a little,
yes,
the print
yes,
is very small.
I will. So 25.7% identify as Black, African American, 23.3% identify Latino, Hispanic, 7.8% are multiracial, 4.7% are Native American, 5.8% are other, and 32.7% are white. 50.1% identify as a woman, non-binary, transgender, or gender non-conforming. 49% identify as having a disability. 10% are veterans, and 22% of our participants are in family. Okay. I think when I think it was Susan that was reading at the beginning, that was sharing at the beginning, the city with their input, their $2 million that they gave us, their money did go focused on families. So their initial investment, they wanted to focus on the families. And so that's what that number was.
I was going to mention, I'm sorry to interrupt, but down in the lower right-hand side, if you slide that little black dot over to the right a little bit, it says you're giving us 54% of your presentation. So if you slide that over a little bit, it'll increase the size and we can read it better. Do you see where? Yeah, right there. That would be
Does that
great.
help?
Thank
Great.
you.
Yeah, of course. So that's just a little bit of demographics. And here's some of the little bit of the research information. So, like I said, we've already had our midterm findings come out. Some of you may have seen some of that. All of those findings are available on our website. But from the time of enrollment to our midterm report, more participants from all groups reported living in rented or owned homes. More participants from the larger payment groups reported having full-time jobs. Fewer participants are sleeping outside, and fewer are utilizing public health services, such as emergency rooms. And we will have those stats quantified in our final report. So you'll be able to see the numbers compared in those areas. On average, after 6 months, people in the larger payment groups felt less distressed and anxious. And they used services from those DBIP partner agencies that I talked about, those 19 agencies, less, and they visited, as I said, the emergency room fewer times. And then here's some more of the housing results. As you could see, this purple bar is at enrollment. So when they first came in, less than 10%. Now it's gonna sound a little tricky. Less than 10% said that they were living in homes that they rented or owned. Now, if this is for the unhoused, how could they be in a home that they rented or owned? The qualifications had to be when they applied. So people applied and potentially from the time that they applied and the random selection happened, could have been in line and scheduled for enrollment. They could have been in line for like rapid rehousing or gotten into housing. They just had to qualify at the application. Does that make sense? So that's why it shows numbers for at enrollment that they might have been in a rental. And so you can see the increase at 6 months in housing. And then fewer participants, according to this, at 6 months, no one in group A that reported, right, that participated in our research, and I'm gonna share what those numbers are. From group A, from the time of enrollment, no one that reported at 6 months were sleeping outside. And then the numbers decreased for group A and the numbers decreased for group C. And then for financial and employment results, the average perception of financial well-being increased for all 3 payment groups. And this is using the Federal Protection Bureau Financial Wellbeing Short Scale. And so the average reported level of financial well-being of participants, so again, at enrollment, and then the red is at 6 months. And so their financial wellness increased pretty consistently across all groups. And then here's the employment. Same. So remember, group A received $1,000 a month. Group B received this lump sum up front. Group C was the comparison group and received $50 a month. So for employment, there's remained about the same in group C. Now, for our research, so everybody in the project, like I said, I went over what the qualification, what the eligibility was. Nobody was required to participate in research. We asked them to, and we told them, if you say no, you will still get your money. We had over 92% of the participants say they wanted to participate in research. And we had a regular ongoing participation rate of over 50%. Just to kind of give you perspective. And so that is like, I kind of went through that pretty quickly. So let me kind of break down a little bit more of how the first year like looked. So we had 807 participants. I will share with you, just like any project, you know, things presented that you don't anticipate. I know I didn't anticipate this. We did have participants pass away. We did have participants, we had 820 selected out of about 1,500 applicants. So how did we have 808 or 807 enroll? Some people didn't enroll because of the impact on public benefits. And so Social Security, we, you know, Social Security, as you all know, is a very ancient program, and they're just not budging in the way that they do their program. And so a lot of our participants, the impact was too great to lose those benefits. We did get an exemption from TANF. And so those who were receiving TANF, this was not considered income. The IRS did consider this as a gift, but how that lands on different programs was different. SNAP did not give us an exemption, but those who got the TANF exemption did get a SNAP exemption because it fell under the TANF exemption. But those only receiving SNAP did not get an exemption. And then it just depended on other programs. There were some participants who were getting Social Security benefits for their children. And some of them, this did not impact those benefits, but it was all on an individual basis. And each participant was given information, a rubric that had recommendations and information about how this would impact any kind of public benefits that they may be getting. And so that, and so my job, just to kind of also share with you, throughout that first year, was engaging participants and our community partners with support around those payment cards. We obviously, people lose phones. How many of us have to get cell phone replacements because they break, or you know, we misplace them or they get stolen? So there was a lot of support around them, around that, so that people can stay connected with us. And if people, we would send text messages out with housing resources. Sometimes we would get information about job training, and so we would send that out. We had events throughout the year and invited participants to engage. We're actually doing events quarterly now to engage participants, and we're ramping up to do monthly kind of check-in time with participants. We really want to build relationships because the feedback that we've received from participants is that they really want that. With the success of our first year, so that's what this slide talks about. What's next? We have been approved to do an extension of our first year. So we have already started our 6-month extension. Those payments started in February, and they will end in July. We are shooting to continue for another full year. So we're hoping to raise enough money by May 31st to do the second 6 months. And we just really believe that the first year establishes that sense of stability for our participants, and that they're going to experience an even more profound transformation. So we have to continue to build that momentum and spread the word. And like I already shared with you, participants shared with us that this has saved their life. And so it literally means life or death for many of our participants experiencing homelessness. I also wanted to share, and I talk really fast, so I'm really sorry. Some of you may know this, the Denver Basic Income Project is a collaboration between private and public entities. And, you know, we've gotten support from the Colorado Department of Local Affairs, obviously the City and County of Denver, the Colorado Trust, the Colorado Health Foundation, and the WEN Collective. I talked about the extension, and we, this additional year will amplify the impact. And we hope that the enabling more individuals to break free from that cycle of poverty. And so we're really working hard to get sustained funding to allow the community to observe this long-term effect and making a strong case for adoption of policies nationwide. And here's just another quote from a participant. It's been a great help to me. Honestly, it's helped me get back on my feet a whole lot. It's really helped me get out of a difficult spot in my life. And I really feel like things are actually beginning to look up. It's given me a lot of hope for my future. And I'll just share just kind of a nice little story. I got connected to Denver Basic Income Project pretty much in the very beginning of Mark getting connected with community agencies. And I was intrigued with this concept that you all learned about last year. And as a service provider, thought, wow, this is phenomenal. And my mom used to always tell me a story that she got money when I was a baby. And I always thought it was for her to go to school. And I started to do research, and then I shared with her this work that I was doing. And sure enough, I was a recipient of the Denver Income Maintenance Experiment over 50 years ago. And so it's a full circle moment for me, and that's just adds to the importance of this work and what drives our very, very small team. There's 3 of us on this team at DBIP. And so, like I said, I know I talked really fast and that wasn't a full 45 minutes, but if anybody has questions, I'll stop sharing my screen.
Well, I want to first thank you for a great presentation. And to remind people, yes, Maria does speak fast. Some of us do that. But this will also be available for you to review at our website. So those screen sharing pieces that Maria gave us, you can go back and review those online. So thank you, Maria. And now I hand it over to Pearl Ann to do questions out of chat.
All right, thank you, Maria. That was great. We had a question about where the money comes from, which I know you talked about some, but I'm guessing this is a question you get a lot, so it's probably not a bad idea to go through it again. And also, I was wondering thoughts on sustainability, because it's looking so promising. Is there a way to make it sustainable over time?
I mean, there are. I will say this. Basic income has been around for over 50 years, both internationally and in this country. And there are policies in other states that have direct funding, government funding for those projects. Are they for the unhoused? No. We feel like there is a path for sustainability. When we look, this is why we're excited for our full report to come out and us showing the numbers of those costs, right, that I talked about. When we are able to show the costs that are saved with people getting into housing, and what are being saved by use of this, not use of the services in emergency rooms and what have you. If we can show those numbers, I mean, we have people who have gotten housed and received $12,000 a year. $12,000 a year versus $35,000 a year. Whatever those numbers are. I'm not a researcher, so I'm really bad when it comes to those data points, but it doesn't really take a lot of money in our perspective. And so for us, it only makes sense. We just need to we need to be talking more. We need to be, doing these types of presentations, getting people to understand this is not like a handout. We need to trust people. Like I said in that video, we know what to do to change our lives. We just need to be given an opportunity. We need access, and the greatest access that's limited is an access to cash, and that's money, and people can make those decisions for their lives, for their own lives, and we've seen it with this project.
You talked about building community. Could you expound on that more about how you were doing that and what the plans are for the future? Any space where people could meet together for these?
Yes. So what I'm trying to, like I said, we are having quarterly events. We had a screening in December of a Christmas movie, Love Actually. We kind of put that together real quick. We invited participants and some of our board and some community members and some funders to come down. It was really great. Funny story, we invited we didn't invite, I think this DJ offered to come and just play some music, and participants were having so much fun. We had to kind of reel them in to come in to watch the movie into the theater, and it was just great relationship building. And they, after that, wanted more. And so then we had a day at the gardens, the botanical gardens, last month, and that was great. A lot of people had never been there, and we had a workshop kind of getting that feedback from participants about how they want to engage with each other. And we had a participant cater that because their experience, they have experience with catering. And so I'm planning to do monthly like coffee time office hours, because we don't have like a building where participants can come and just meet with us. We had a couple participants start their own businesses and wanted to hire other participants. And so they want the space to engage each other, to help each other and extend that for each other. Sorry, my granddaughter's talking to me.
That's important too. Those are great stories. We had a question on, do these extensions involve the same people or new groups?
Good question. So we really believe in studying the impact of a longer term kind of cohort. 3 years is what ideally we'd like to study the impact of that. And so right now our extension is for participants who were in that first year. Before we did our hard launch, we did kind of a test run with we had 2 soft launches. The first soft launch had 11 participants from 2 community agencies, had some learnings from that. And then we did 28 participants from 4 agencies. And so with this extension, we invited those 39 participants into the extension. So out of 835 total participants, we re-enrolled 670.
Yeah. Good percentage.
So depending on funding, we want to extend and expand.
How do you define financial wellness?
Ooh.
Trick question, maybe, huh?
Gosh, my social worker brain is going on. I'm like immediately like, I can't define that for somebody, but I think, somebody able to meet their needs, somebody able to not be paying more than 50% of their income towards housing, although that's hard for anybody, even homeowners, I think at this point. But yeah, being able to meet their needs and beginning to save money, having that cushion or emergency fund, and understanding how to utilize their money. But that's my definition.
Not a bad one. I really liked your full circle story. That's pretty special. That's great. Any more questions? Sue?
I have one.
Great.
How have the agencies or social service organizations with which you have collaborated, what kind of feedback have you gotten from them? And are there changes that you see in how you will collaborate with them in the future?
You know, so the feedback we've gotten from them, they all support this 1000%. They, just like participants in the beginning, were like, what? You want to do what? I mean, we had participants that were like, I hit the lottery. They still call this the lottery. When they call to get a card replacement, oh, I'm part of the lottery. Like, I need a card replacement. So our community agencies were like, you want to give money, but just so believe in this. And so their feedback as people who have engaged participants in their programs see this impact. I'm not gonna lie, in the very beginning, you know, there was some work to really understand that our values aligned with their values. And I have to talk about, as a service provider, those of us have been doing this work, we are driven a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, by the funding that we receive, right? Otherwise, we don't get that funding. So there's lots of boxes to check. And sometimes that can skew the work that we do. And so we were really intentional with our partners to say, we don't want you to say, oh, this person deserves this more than this person. We want you to only look at what our eligibility is. And that was a challenge, and they embraced that challenge because it was a new way of thinking. And so we receive feedback from them all the time. Any tweaks of our program was directly from our partners and our participants. And so it's been positive. It's been really good.
So this is another question. You mentioned a program which is more flexible, not cutting access to programs like SNAP to people who participate. And it sounded like TANF, which I think is TANF, right? But I'm not
TANF.
familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
So could you let them know clearer? Is it TNAF?
Yes,
What's
so
it stand for?
TANF, so temporary assistance to needy families.
We had another question about where the money comes from. So,
yes.
So are those organizations you listed in your second to last slide, or is it others as well?
Yeah, so we have funding from public and private foundations. So we have the Colorado Trust, the WEND Collective, the City and County of Denver, which tapped into ARPA funds, the Colorado Health Foundation, Rose Community Foundation, the Denver Foundation, Gary Community. Those are what I have written down. And our founder seeded the project with his own money. So, and we've had private donations as well.
Has any of your participants hired some of the people that that you're supporting for a job? I just was curious, some of the organizations that are funding your project.
I think a couple of our organizations have. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I know that we are looking at ways to do that ourselves in this second year. We have a storytelling cohort of people. I'll just share this, where people are engaging to share their stories, but we're also going to be creating a cohort of people for just that. Terry. So I don't know off the top of my head if those agencies hired participants, but I do know one did in their community, just because that participant shared that with us.
So yeah, I think advertising or having people tell their stories might attract some people to hire them from outside companies as well. So that's a wonderful thing you're doing.
Thank you.
And do you really only have 3 staff?
We do. Well, okay, so great question. We do, yes, right at this moment. We did have a fiscal sponsorship, so we didn't do this alone to lift it up. We were under the fiscal sponsorship of Impact Charitable, and we had a consulting team help lift it up. but we just got our own 501c3, and in January of this year, we have literally been a team of us 3.
It's impressive.
Which is why my computer was like, I'm done working.
A protest.
Yes. So it is a team of 3.
Sue, go for it.
One of the things that we often ask our speakers, be they council members or legislators or speakers from community organizations like yours, is what can the League of Women Voters do to help? We are an advocacy and public education organization. We are completely nonpartisan organization, but what are ways that League could support you or help you?
I think just doing what you do, advocating, sharing the information. You know, we really try to invite all of the people that we connect with to our events and to help, you know, spread the word and engage with us and build a relationship with us. We just really enjoy that space, to be honest with you. So that's what I see. And I would say Mark would say that too. Mark would say, just, you know, keep telling our story, keep sharing what you heard from us, helping dispel the myths that are out there, not only about our unhoused community, but what guaranteed income is, direct cash assistance is. That movement has grown just in the last 3 years, but it's been around for 5 decades, and the impact has been phenomenal. And so it really is, we think, the future of how we're going to change our world. And we really firmly believe that. And so just, you know, gearing people towards, I heard you guys say that you did research and you read about what this is. And so encouraging people to do that and to engage with us.
Thank you. Any other questions or just comments as well? So do we go to your website to get the data results, the research results in June? And is it that beginning or the end of June?
It'll be the beginning of June. We will have a press release, but yes, everything will be on the website. I'm sure that you guys will get an email about when it's coming out. We will have a press release. We're really working hard on presenting the data so that it's digestible, even better and prettier than the last time. Like I said, I'm not a data person, so I'm excited about that. I'm like, oh, so I don't have to sit there for a couple of hours and really like have the information sit in my brain. I like pretty graphs and colors. So yeah, so it'll be there in June. I want to say it's going to be by the 2nd week of June.
Okay. And which division of the University of Denver have you worked with for the research?
So our partner is the Center on Housing and Homelessness Research. Dr. Daniel Brisson, who heads up that research center, is our partner.
Thank you.
They've been a phenomenal research partner.
Will he have a report as well come out from his research that we'll all be access to, and, you know, not a journal article, but something that'll go to the public?
They are the ones doing our research. So that's the information that will come out. And it won't be boring journal research stuff. I promise you that.
I love journals, but journals don't get out to the public.
No.
My journals are quite interesting, but anyway.
Are there any current pieces of legislation or upcoming pieces of legislation that we can advocate to support or advocate against if it's something that would cause you problems?
Well, we as you know, we got $2 million from Mayor Hancock's administration, as he was going out, we had asked Mayor Johnston and this current city council for 4 million, and we got 2. We have a week of action coming up next week. We are asking city council for more money. There is a group that's separate but is supporting just generally guaranteed income, and that is CCDC, and they are just advocating in general. And so we do have an ask for city council for more for this long term. And so, like I said, we will have a day of action next week. So I can share more of that information in email because we're working on that right now.
That would be great because we are having a new city council members meet and greet.
Oh, wonderful.
Soon. And so we
Okay.
will have some of those very city council people present, and we can say to them that we heard from you, and then that what are they thinking about your program, and can they give you more funding?
Yes, that's what's super helpful. And when we got this round of funding from this city council, all but one voted for it and supported us. But when they hear from groups like yourselves, it's so helpful, because it's, like I said, getting the word out there, knowing that we're engaging our community is important to them, and they're waiting for those numbers too. They're waiting for the report, and so we're excited to share it.
Have you thought of putting in a proposal for the Gates Foundation?
I believe that they have, yes.
That would be great. They do, and they participate when they do send money. So that'd be great, and I hope it gets through.
Yeah. Mark is very his everyday job. Like I said, this man is phenomenal. His job is 100% fundraising, but he calls participants every day now, like 10 a day, however many have birthdays, and wishes them happy birthday.
That's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Cindy, you had your hand up. Cindy Sestrick, did you want to?
Maria just answered my question about what city council was doing.
Oh, got it. Okay, that's what I thought, but I thought I'd check in with you because I was like, I thought Cindy was going to ask about city council.
You guessed it.
Any other questions or comments or observations?
I just want to say thank you for being so involved with this and a passion for it. I think it's really a wave of the future if people will pay attention. So individually to make their own decisions is really important. Thank you.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much. I appreciate this time, and so sorry about all the different hiccups tonight, but
don't apologize for anything. It was just great. And we're all real people too, and we all have computers, and some of us have 3-year-old grandchildren too.
yeah.
So thank you again. This was
Yeah, of
just
course.
wonderful.
You have
Thank
a great
you
night.
very much. We so appreciate your coming to do this, and say hello to Mark from us.
I will.
In the middle of his making birthday calls.
Yeah, I will. Have a great evening. I look forward to seeing you all again in the future.
Thank you. Bye-bye.